Hey, why are you crying? Crying alone is the saddest thing ever. Want to share my crackers? My mama says food makes everything a little better. 4-year-old Atlas Hayes sat down beside the little girl sobbing quietly on the playground bench, her expensive dress and shoes marking her as different from the other children at Riverside Elementary. But Atlas didn't notice wealth or status. He just saw someone hurting and alone, and his mother had taught him that kindness mattered more than anything else. What Atlas didn't know was that 33-year-old Quillen Merriweather, billionaire CEO and the crying girl's father, was watching from his car across the street, having arrived early for pickup. He'd been sitting there for 20 minutes, paralyzed with guilt, watching his daughter Clover sit alone while other children played, her small shoulders shaking with sobs he felt powerless to soothe. Clover had been inconsolably sad since her mother died 6 months ago, and Quillen's attempts to help, expensive toys, the best therapists, even changing schools, had all failed. He'd been about to go to her when this boy, in worn, too small clothes, approached and offered something Quillen's wealth couldn't buy: simple, genuine companionship. "My name's Clover," his daughter said through tears, accepting the crackers with small, trembling hands. "The kids say I'm weird because I don't talk much. They say my clothes are too fancy and I act sad all the time." "You're not weird," Atlas said seriously, his own clothes patched but clean, his sneakers held together with duct tape. "You're just missing somebody, I can tell. I miss my daddy too, even though he left and isn't coming back. Missing people makes us quiet sometimes. That's okay." Quillen's chest tightened, watching this conversation unfold. This child, clearly from struggling circumstances, was offering his daughter more emotional wisdom than any expensive therapist had managed.
What Quillen didn't know yet was that Atlas's mother, 29-year-old Meadow Hayes, was working 3 jobs to support them after her husband abandoned them when Atlas was 2. She'd taught her son that kindness cost nothing, but meant everything, that sharing what little they had was more important than keeping it for themselves, that seeing other people's pain and responding with compassion was what made someone truly rich. Over the following weeks, Quillen watched this friendship blossom. Atlas and Clover became inseparable at school, sharing lunches, sitting together at reading time, holding hands during fire drills. And slowly, miraculously, Clover began smiling again. The expensive therapists had failed, where a 4-year-old's simple kindness succeeded. Quillen knew he needed to thank this child's family, but when he researched Atlas Hayes, what he learned made him profoundly uncomfortable. The boy's mother worked as a night cleaner in office buildings, a weekend cashier, and did gig delivery during early mornings. They lived in a tiny apartment in the poorest part of town. Atlas wore the same 3 outfits in rotation, brought crackers and PB&J for lunch every single day, and yet consistently shared half of his meager food with Clover. The wealth disparity was staggering. Quillen could buy Atlas's entire apartment building without noticing the expense, but this struggling child was giving his daughter something priceless: friendship, acceptance, proof that joy still existed. When Quillen finally approached Meadow at school pickup, intending to thank her and perhaps offer financial help, what happened surprised him completely. Meadow, recognizing him as the wealthy parent others whispered about, immediately grew defensive. "If this is about Atlas sitting with your daughter, I can tell him to stop if she's bothering."
"No," Quillen interrupted gently. "This is about thanking your son for saving my daughter's life. Not dramatically, but truly. She's been drowning in grief since her mother died, and your son's kindness is the first thing that's reached her. I'm grateful beyond words." Meadow's defensive expression softened into surprise. "Atlas is he's a kind boy. I try to teach him that wealth isn't measured in money, but in how we treat people." "You're teaching him beautifully," Quillen said, voice thick. "And I wonder, could I take you both to dinner to thank you properly? Clover would love to see Atlas outside school, and I'd like to know the family that's given my daughter back her smile." What started as a thank you dinner became weekly dinners, then weekend park visits, then a genuine friendship between 2 single parents navigating impossible circumstances. Quillen learned that Meadow's exhaustion came from love, working herself to exhaustion so Atlas could have opportunities she'd never had. And Meadow learned that Quillen's wealth hadn't protected him from grief, that loss didn't care about bank accounts, that being a good parent was hard regardless of resources.
But what Quillen discovered most powerfully was that Atlas's kindness wasn't despite his poverty. It was shaped by it. He understood what it meant to have little, so he shared what he had. He knew what loneliness felt like, so he sat with those crying alone. His mother's struggles had taught him empathy that privilege often prevented. "I want to help," Quillen said to Netto one evening after the children fell asleep during a movie. "Not as charity, as gratitude. Your son gave my daughter something I couldn't buy. Let me help ease your burden. Better job opportunities, education support, housing."
"I don't want to be anyone's charity case," Meadow said quietly, pride and exhaustion warring in her voice. "What if it's not charity?" Quillen replied gently. "What if it's just friendship? Friends help each other. Your son helped my daughter when she was broken. Let me help your family, because helping each other is what people do when they actually care." What emerged wasn't transactional, but genuine. Quillen hired Meadow for his company's operations team, a position matching her organizational skills with actual career potential. He arranged scholarship funding for Atlas's future education. But more importantly, they became chosen family, two single parents and their children, building something real from shared loss and unexpected grace. A year later, watching Atlas and Clover play together at a park, Meadow said to Quillen, "I was so scared that day when you first approached me. I thought you'd want Atlas to stop bothering your daughter, that you'd see us as beneath you. I never imagined." "That your daughter needed your son more than he needed her?" Quillen finished softly. "That wealth can't buy what your son offered for free? Pure, uncomplicated kindness? That teaching your child to share crackers with a crying stranger is worth more than any expensive education I could provide?" "You taught me something too," Meadow admitted. "That accepting help isn't weakness, that pride shouldn't prevent me from giving Atlas better opportunities, that you having money doesn't make you less human or less capable of grief. We both taught each other something."
Atlas called out then, "Mama, Mr. Quillen! Clover and me built a castle in the sandbox. Come see." And they went, these two adults whose children had brought them together through one small act of sitting beside someone crying, sharing crackers, choosing connection over isolation. Because true kindness doesn't see wealth or status. It simply sees suffering and responds, offers what it has without calculating worth, believes that sitting beside someone in pain matters more than anything else. Sometimes the poorest child teaches the wealthiest lessons, proving that love and compassion transcend circumstance, that the most valuable gifts are the ones we share when we have the least to spare. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.